Have you ever been in a meeting discussing a problem, considering solutions, but no decisions are ever made, and then you leave the meeting wondering why you just wasted an hour of your life? In this session, we're going to talk about how to use data to make decisions so that you can efficiently and effectively meet the needs of students and your school community. In Tier 1, you're implementing school-wide PBIS, which means you're focusing on school-wide efforts to improve overall behavior, increase student engagement, and improve teacher and student well-being. You establish school-wide expectations and teach them directly and regularly to students. You create a positive reinforcement system for your school, and then you respond to challenging behavior with consistent consequences. You're teaching social-emotional learning regularly in the classroom, like second step. You're also implementing restorative practices, which at Tier 1 includes facilitating classroom circles for community building, instruction, and solving problems as a class. You're also using affective language, like making affective statements and asking restorative questions. And finally, you make data-based decisions. First, let's talk about who looks at Tier 1 data. The Tier 1 team, often called the PBIS team or the Culture and Climate or maybe the leadership team, they're made up of a representative group on campus, like the principal, teachers from different grade levels, special education, classroom aides, maybe campus supervisors, parents, and then in older grades, you want students there. The team analyzes the data, typically on a monthly basis. Let's talk about what data you look at in Tier 1. We use two types of data, fidelity data and outcome data. Fidelity data measures how well we're implementing PBIS. Currently, most schools in the U.S. are using the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, which measures implementation of PBIS at all three tiers. The other measure we use is outcome data. We look at the school climate data like the California Healthy Kids Survey and discipline data. We count how many suspensions, we track expulsions over time, and we look at office referrals at each school. Together, these data points tell us how well we're implementing PBIS strategies and how the students are responding to them. Because most of those data points are only available once or twice a year, the PBIS team primarily looks at the office referral data in their meetings. In order for office referral data to be useful for the team, the whole school needs to agree on a process for collecting that data. Basically, you need to calibrate so that the staff refer students for similar reasons. You don't want someone throwing a student out for forgetting to bring their eyeglasses and then other people waiting until the room is set on fire to write a referral. Not only is that inconsistent for your school environment, it makes your data really unreliable. For more information on coming to staff agreements on when to write an office referral, see my video on responding to challenging behavior in the classroom. The next thing you need to do is create an office referral form with the correct data points. You should only have one office referral on your campus. You don't need detention slips, citations, demerits, or any other piece of paper related to bad behavior. Having everything on one piece of paper helps keep the data a lot cleaner. Next, keep it simple and easy. Think check boxes. This is not a time for the teacher to have to write a story. It only needs enough information to the other staff member responding to get the idea of what happened. Remember, the purpose of an office referral form is for documentation only. There's no evidence that writing on a piece of paper and handing it to the student changes their behavior. Next, make sure the form provides you with the data points that you need. All you really need is the date, the time, student name and grade, location of the referral, the referring staff member who was there at the time, and the problem behavior. The teacher or staff member should write no more than one sentence and maybe just indicate some strategies that they've already tried. Then the person responding to the behavior would complete the action taken section on the bottom, describing the consequence or the response. For example, an apology, restitution, loss of privileges, community service, and so on. Check out my video on office referrals and restorative chats for more on how to complete an office referral on a student while remaining restorative. Now let's talk about how you analyze Tier 1 data to inform, plan, and implement behavioral supports. Tracking office referrals is not for identifying individual students only. The truth is, if a lot of students are making the same mistake, it's typically the system that needs to change, not the students. The team will analyze office discipline referrals to determine what problem behaviors they're struggling with, where the problem behaviors are happening on campus, which grade levels, what time of day, in order to target resources and interventions. Then, as a team, they create a plan to teach, monitor, and reward appropriate behavior before relying on corrections and sanctions. In each tier, teams will follow a simple problem-solving model. First, problem identification. Is there a problem here? Next, problem analysis. Why is it happening? Third, plan implementation. What should be done? And last, plan evaluation. Is the plan working? Have you ever been in a meeting discussing a problem, considering solutions, but you don't seem to get anywhere? You know how it goes. You talk and you talk and you talk about what different people think the problem is, and before you know it, you're out of time, not to discuss it again for another month. Nothing's changed. Instead, we need to use our time effectively and use data to describe both the problem and the solution. Decisions are more likely to be effective and efficient when they're based on data. The quality of decision-making depends most on the first step, which is first to define problems with precision and clarity. At the Tier 1 level, the PBIS team needs to be able to make a precise problem statement. This includes answering these questions. What's the problem and how often is it happening? Where is it happening? Who is engaged in the behavior? When is the problem most likely to happen? Why is the problem sustaining? That way you avoid defining a solution before fully defining the problem. You don't want to build solutions from broadly defined or fuzzy problem statements. Another common thing we do in meetings is serial problem solving without making any decisions. I like to call that spinning. Precise problem statements will help you use your time more efficiently. Once I was in a PBIS team meeting and the team was saying, kids these days, they're so disrespectful. And they began to plan a school-wide campaign against disrespectful language and behavior. But before we got long into planning, we decided to look at the office referral data, and we saw that the disrespectful behavior was mainly inappropriate language and physical contact, like roughhousing. And it was happening around 10:15 in the morning, and it wasn't the whole school, it was the third grade boys. The imprecise problem statement, kids these days are so disrespectful, was so much less helpful than third grade boys are engaging in inappropriate language and physical contact at 10:15 in the morning when classes are lining up after recess. The team believed this had to do with the fact that many teachers were not coming on time to pick up their students. They were leaving them there to line up with very little supervision. Quickly, the team went into action and communicated the problem to the teachers and requested that they come on time to pick up their students after recess. They planned a lesson, reteaching the lineup procedures, and then created double Scotty tickets that were only available during lining up time and could be entered into a school-wide drawing. Within 1 week, the problem disappeared. Despite all of your Tier 1 efforts, there will be some students, usually around 10 to 15%, who will need more support. To learn how to use data to inform, plan, and implement behavioral supports in Tier 2 and Tier 3, I have some bonus videos linked below. The key in Tier 1 data is to remember what Rob Horner says, resist the urge to measure with a micrometer and swing with an axe. So often in schools, we gather and gather and gather data only to make wide sweeping changes in our work. The truth is, small changes, the more targeted they are more likely that you'll get the results you're after.